Relieve yourself of the necessity for perfection. Perfection is a fool's errand, and you're going to make mistakes. Then also understand that you need the information from the mistakes to get smarter. Work with people. Don't try to be perfect. And when you make mistakes, look at them as learning opportunities so you and your people get better.
To be a courageous and effective leader, you have to believe in the mission of the product, the service, or the company, and even yourself. In order to do that, you have to really understand why the product, the service, the company, you exist in the moment. And in so doing, you can be committed and convicted to the idea and therefore be able to communicate it effectively and with great passion.
I think becoming a courageous and effective leader rests on developing your character. For me, the most important dimensions of character are generosity, humility, and integrity. Generosity is about being a servant leader, about being a giver rather than a taker, and trying to put your mission above your ego. Humility is recognizing that weak leaders deny their weaknesses and make themselves weaker, while strong leaders acknowledge their weaknesses and make themselves stronger. And integrity is about basically taking those principles and making sure that you put them into practice. I see a lot of leaders who are trying hard to walk their talk, and I actually think that's backward. I think that you should only talk what you already walk.
Courage is key. Courage, a reasonable amount of risk aversion, people skills. It's very important to be able to communicate both with sort of larger groups of people at a conference like this one, or to be able to communicate sort of one-to-one. I think those are some of the most important aspects. When I say ruthlessness, I usually get negative feedback, but I would still argue that some measure of ruthlessness is also important in a good leader.
I think this is one of the most profound shifts that a leader can make, is shift out of the mode of distributing answers and telling people what to do and operate in the mode of asking questions that get other people thinking, asking questions that shift the burden of thinking from you to them, asking questions that focus the intelligence and energy of your team on the right problems.
To become a courageous leader means that you can step out into the space of uncertainty and ambiguity, and you can lead your team not where it's light, where things are known, but leading them where things are unknown. And to be able to do that, you not only need to have the courage to do that yourself, but you've got to build a team that has the trust of the leader, trust their leader, and has the trust amongst themselves that they're willing to go into dark places where you have more questions than answers. And to navigate those places of uncertainty, the best leaders build a learning culture where people can figure things out together.
The reasons that we don't do the things we need to do as leaders often don't have to do with courage. They have to do with good intentions often. And so I think the most important thing that a great leader can do is to solicit feedback and to reward the candor when they get it. That is one of the things a leader can actually do to create a culture of psychological safety.
First of all, we got to recognize that we live in a world of unprecedented uncertainty and speed of change, in part because of the incredible speed of artificial intelligence that is coming at us. So in that world, there are a couple of things we need as leaders. First of all, we need an open mindset. There is so much new to learn for ourselves and for others, and that openness is so important. I think of it as having a beginner's mindset, that we don't sort of walk around saying, I know it all, but we're going to be able to be curious and open to new experiences and learning, not only AI, but many other things. So I think that's the first part. The second part, when there's a lot of uncertainty, it's easy to postpone hard decisions. It's easy to go with the status quo. It is easy to be in your comfort zone. So we require courageous leadership, meaning taking tough decisions. those that are uncomfortable, hard, but necessary to make. And so leaders today need to be able to comfortable taking something that is unpopular, like a tough decision.
Courageous discipline means making some tough choices. What does it give you if you can do this well? It gives you a great execution. In today's world full of change, you need to execute short term to stay alive and to have a chance to fight for the future. Without that, you have no future. But then you also need to have a future. You need to create the future by a creative and disciplined process, by upscaling talent for AI. It gives you that future. And then you need to figure out, who should I bring along with me? It's a team. It gives you a great team. And of course, you need to hire and develop. But I think firing the people who should not be on my team, not in my organization, is a harder choice, because it creates courage to make sure, well, you know what, should not be on my team. It's a difficult thing to do, but it's needed. So what we have with the 5 disciplines, it's execution, future, and a team.
I think effective leader is a lot about deciding what you work with. I talked a lot about this fewer, bigger, better. Choosing your battles, not work with everything, but choose the key important things to work with and work with them. And then park rest. Don't take too many topics, just work with those which are the most important thing. That gives you effectiveness, and that gives you results.
If you want to be a courageous and effective leader, it's important that you listen to the market, that you listen to people, and that you ask the right questions. I think if you start by opening up and listening to everyone and use all that feedback, that will help you to be a better leader, make better decisions, and encourage people to make better decisions themselves.
Nobody wants to give you feedback, especially if you're their manager. So what are the 4 things you can do to solicit feedback? You want to go in having a good question that you're going to ask. The next thing you want to do is you want to embrace the discomfort. No matter how good your question is, the other person still doesn't want to answer it. Simple tactic here, close your mouth and count to 6. I only made it to 3 just there. It's a long time. Almost no one can endure 6 full seconds of silence. Next, what you want to do is you want to listen with the intent to understand, not to respond, because you probably are going to feel defensive, even though you just solicited feedback. And that's okay. It doesn't mean you're a lesser mortal. It just means you're human, and your humanity is part of your leadership. Last but not least, you've got to reward the candor. If you agree with the feedback, fix the problem, and then ask for some more feedback. Did you overcorrect? Did you undercorrect? If you disagree with the feedback, do not pretend to agree, but look for that 5 or 10% of what the person said that you can really genuinely agree with. Give voice to that just to show that you're really listening. And then you want to explain in a respectful way why you disagree. You can't argue endlessly. You got to listen, challenge, commit, but get it all out on the table. That will help you be a great leader.
In our work with Jim Collins in the book Great by Choice, we looked at what are the ways in which companies and leaders really thrive in uncertain and turbulent worlds. Those leaders have a triangle of skills. The first one is that they have what we call productive paranoia, which means that they are very sensitive to what's going on in the world around them. And they're paranoid in many ways. But you also need to be productive about that. So you'd say, well, there's a big change going on and we're going to implement a result to that. You also need empirical creativity, meaning to be out and create pilots, A/B testing, demos, new market expansion where you start out small and so on. That is what we mean by empirical creativity. So the way you make sense of the world and progress is by actually doing things, not just thinking. And then the third part is what we call fanatic discipline. It is so easy in a world full of change just to sit back and observe, but you need to make progress every day, every single quarter, every single month. That discipline of execution actually is more important in a world full of change. So you need this triangle as a leader: productive paranoia, empirical creativity, and fanatic discipline.
All it takes to become a courageous and effective leader is to just start trying. It's to ask yourself what right looks like and do that over and over and over again. Knowing that sometimes you're going to get it right and sometimes you're going to get it wrong, but don't let the many times you get it wrong stop you from waking up the next day and trying again. And the day after that, trying again. Raindrops make oceans, and a number of small steps towards a destination will ultimately get you there, even if at times it doesn't feel like it.